The school hallway was noisy, full of laughter and gossip. Teenagers moved from one class to another like waves in the sea. But one girl walked differently, quietly, slowly, and with her head down. Her name was Isla. She wore a large scarf that covered most of her face. No one had seen what was under it. Some students whispered that she had no face. Others laughed and said she was a ghost. Every time she passed by, they stared. A few even pointed and giggled behind her back. Isla never spoke. She never raised her hand in class. She sat in the corner near the window, always looking outside like she wanted to be somewhere else. But deep inside her, Isla was tired. She wasn't born this way. Just a year ago, she was full of life. She loved to draw, laugh, and dream. But one night, her house caught fire. Isla tried to save her younger brother. She pulled him out, but the flames touched her face. She lived, but the scars stayed forever. Her parents moved to a new city after the accident. They thought a fresh start would help her heal. But school was cruel. Teenagers didn't understand pain. They only saw the scarf and made jokes. On this day, things were worse. During lunch break, Isla sat under the old tree in the schoolyard, trying to eat alone. A group of girls walked up. One of them, Ria, smirked and said loudly, "Why do you always hide your face? Are you even real?" Isla didn't respond. Another girl, Lana, laughed. Maybe she's hiding fangs. Or maybe no one ever taught her how to smile. The girls surrounded her. Ria leaned in. "Let's see what the mystery is." Before Isla could stop her, Ria pulled off her scarf. Gasps, silence, then cruel laughter. Isla's face had deep burn scars on one side. Her skin looked uneven and red. One eye blinked slower than the other. Ria stepped back, her smile fading. She didn't expect the scars to be this real. Some students nearby stopped eating. A few looked away in guilt. Others pulled out their phones. Isla grabbed her scarf, covered her face, and ran. She didn't know where to go. Her legs moved fast, but her heart felt heavier than ever. She rushed into the empty school auditorium and sat under the stage, hiding like a wounded bird. Tears fell silently. Her chest hurt. She didn't want to go back. Not ever. But someone had seen everything. A tall man with a cane walked into the cafeteria moments after Isla ran away. He wasn't wearing a school uniform, but he had a strong presence. His hair was short and gray. His jacket had a small patch of military symbol. He had seen students laugh. And he had seen scars like those before, on the battlefield. He stepped into the middle of the room and spoke in a firm voice, "Enough." The students turned. "I've seen soldiers with scars far worse," he continued. "And I've seen courage in people you call weak. That girl you laughed at, she survived. Something most of you couldn't even imagine." The room went silent. "My name is Mr. Reynard. I'll be your substitute teacher this month. And let me be clear, if you laugh at her again, you laugh at me." No one said a word. Back under the stage, Isla hugged her knees, still crying. But something had changed, for the first time. Someone stood up for her the next morning. Isla came to school a little later than usual. Her scarf was wrapped tightly around her face again. She didn't want to meet anyone's eyes. She walked with her books close to her chest, her heart still hurting from the day before. She expected more whispers, more laughs. But something felt different. The hallway was quieter when she passed by. A few students looked away instead of staring. One girl even moved aside to let her through. Isla didn't understand what had changed. In her first class, someone new stood at the front. Mr. Reynard, the same man who had defended her in the cafeteria. He wore a plain jacket and walked with a cane. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He greeted the class and introduced himself as a war veteran who would be teaching history for a few weeks. Ayla kept her head down, not expecting anything from him, but after class, as she gathered her things, Mr. Reynard walked up to her desk. "I just wanted to say," he said softly, "you're stronger than most people in this building." Ayla looked up slowly. Her eyes were tired, but there was a small flicker of surprise. "I've seen men cry from pain," he added, "but you faced a fire and still showed up to school." She didn't know how to answer, so she said nothing. He nodded, as if he understood. "You don't have to speak today," he said, "but when you're ready, I'd like to hear your story." And then he walked away. At lunch, Ayla didn't go to the schoolyard. She sat in the library, far in the back, trying to draw. She used to love sketching faces, but now all her drawings had one thing in common. The faces were always half-finished or hidden. She was so focused on her sketchbook that she didn't notice someone pulling up a chair next to her. It was Mr. Reynard again. He placed a small object on the table, a faded photo of a younger man with burn scars across his arm and cheek. "That was me," he said. "Years ago, after an explosion." Ayla stared at the photo. "I covered up for a long time," he continued. "I hated mirrors. I hated myself. But then I realized something." He looked at her gently. "The real wounds are not on the skin. They're inside, and healing starts when we stop hiding." Ayla slowly looked down at her scarf. Then she looked at her own drawing, the unfinished face staring back at her. Maybe it was time to draw again. Maybe it was time to live again. Mr. Reynard started every class with a story. Sometimes it was about the war. Sometimes it was about something small, like how he once forgot a soldier's birthday and made it up with a chocolate bar from a broken vending machine. But each story had a message, one about pain, strength, or kindness. Ayla listened. She didn't raise her hand, but she started looking up more. She noticed something strange students were listening to. Even the ones who had laughed at her one morning. Mr. Reynard told the class, "Bravery is not just found on battlefields. Sometimes it's found in a girl who walks into school even when the world stares." A few students looked at Ayla. Her heart beat faster, but this time it wasn't fear. It was something new. Something warm. Later that week, Ayla sat in the art room during lunch. Her sketchbook was open. She was drawing again, but not just faces. She drew fire, shadows, and light. Each drawing had a story. That's when the school counselor, Miss Jenna, walked in. She had a kind voice and always wore a sunflower pin. "I've been hearing about your art," she said with a smile. "Would you like to enter a piece in the school art showcase?" Ayla's eyes widened. She shook her head quickly. "No one wants to see that," she whispered. Miss Jenna leaned closer. "You might be surprised." The next day, Ayla told Mr. Reynard about the offer. "I don't want people to laugh again," she said quietly. He nodded. "Then don't draw for them. Draw for yourself. Let them see the truth. If they laugh, it's because they're scared of truth, not you." That night, Ayla stayed up late. She worked on one piece. She drew herself standing in front of flames. Her skin marked by fire, but her eyes full of strength. One half of her face showed the scars. The other half showed a mirror reflecting light dot at the bottom. She wrote, "Not broken, just burned and still standing." When the showcase day arrived, her drawing was placed in the center. No name, just the title. Students walked by. Some stopped. Some stared. No one laughed. Ria, the girl who had ripped off her scarf weeks ago, stood, frozen in front of the drawing. Her friend Lana whispered, "That's her, isn't it?" Ria didn't answer. For the first time, she didn't know what to say. Back near the back of the room, Mr. Reynard stood silently, watching. When Ayla entered, she tried to hide, but he motioned for her to stand beside him. You didn't go to war, Ayla, he said softly, but you fought one. And you won. After the art showcase, something began to change. Ayla noticed fewer stares in the hallway. Some students didn't look away in disgust. They looked in silence. Some even nodded as she walked by. It wasn't friendship, not yet, but it was respect. The painting had spoken louder than her words ever could, but healing wasn't quick. Ayla still struggled to sit in crowds. She still flinched when loud laughter echoed behind her. There were days she wanted to hide again. That's when Mr. Reynard gave her a new challenge. Paint something with no fire, he said one afternoon as they sat outside near the garden. No scars, no fear, just peace. Ayla looked confused. But I don't know what peace feels like. Mr. Reynard smiled. Then imagine it. He handed her a small wooden board, not a canvas. Start small, like peace often does. She stared at the blank board. And slowly, she began to paint. Days passed. Her painting showed a quiet night sky, full of stars. In the center was a figure sitting under a tree, looking up, not hiding, not crying, just still. It wasn't her yet, but it was who she wanted to be. One afternoon in the library, a boy sat down near her table. Ayla glanced at him. He didn't speak, just opened his book and started reading. His name was Keon. He was in her class, but had never spoken to her before. His sleeves were always pulled low, even in summer. After a few days of silent company, he finally whispered, "You're painting." It reminded me of my sister. Ayla looked at him, surprised. She passed away in a car fire, he said quietly. I got out. She didn't. People told me I was lucky, but I felt guilty every day. Ayla didn't know what to say, but she didn't need to. He looked at her and added, "Thank you for showing it's okay to survive." Later that evening, Ayla told Mr. Reynard about the conversation. He nodded, his eyes soft. Sometimes your healing helps others heal too, without even trying. Ayla didn't reply. She just looked at her hands. For the first time, they didn't feel useless or weak. They felt capable. She was not only surviving, she was helping. Others survived too. A notice went up on the school board. Veterans Day Assembly guest speaker. Mr. Reynard. Most students didn't care at first. School assemblies were boring and nobody listened anyway. But this one felt different. Word had spread about Ayla's painting and about Mr. Reynard's scars. Some students whispered, "He's gonna talk about war." No, he's gonna talk about that burned girl. Is she even coming to the stage? Ayla sat nervously in the art room while the gym filled with students. Miss Jenna and Mr. Reynard stood with her. I'm not ready, Ayla said, clutching the edge of her scarf. You don't have to speak, Miss Jenna said softly. Just be there. Just stand. Mr. Reynard placed a hand on her shoulder. You already spoke louder than most people ever will, he said. You faced fire. You showed your truth. Now, let them see it. The gym buzzed with noise as the principal introduced Mr. Reynard. He walked slowly to the stage, cane tapping with each step. The microphone squeaked. The students whispered. He looked over the crowd. I was a soldier. He began, but this story isn't just about war. The room fell quiet. This is about wounds. Some you see, some you don't. He paused. Then, slowly, he unbuttoned the top of his shirt sleeve and rolled it up. Gasps filled the room. His arm was badly burned. Twisted skin. Faded red lines. It was the first time many students had seen a real scar like that up close. Pain doesn't always come from bullets. Sometimes it comes from fire, or from being laughed at when you walk through a hallway. He nodded toward the gym door. The lights dimmed slightly. From the back of the gym, Ayla stepped out, her scarf folded in her hands. Her face was uncovered. She was holding her painting, the one with fire and light. She walked slowly, each step like a battle. The whispers stopped. Not a single laugh came. She reached the stage and placed her painting on an easel next to Mr. Reynard. He looked at it, then at her. "This girl," he said to the crowd, "is braver than I ever was." The students stared in silence. Some looked down in shame, others clapped quietly. Then the clapping grew louder, louder, until the whole gym echoed with applause. Ayla didn't cry. She didn't smile either, but she stood tall, and that was enough. After the assembly, the school didn't feel the same. Students still talked, but not with cruel jokes. They spoke in hushed voices, sharing pieces of what they felt during the moment. Ayla stood on that stage. Her painting remained displayed in the main hallway, and for the first time, no one dared to make fun of it. Ayla returned to class the next day, her scarf gone. Some stared, but not in the way they used to. During lunch, she sat under the same tree where it had all started, where they once laughed at her. But this time, someone approached her quietly. It was Ria. The same girl who ripped off Ella's scarf weeks ago now stood in front of her, holding a small notebook close to her chest. Ayla looked up, unsure. Ria hesitated, her voice shaking. "I wrote something." She sat down beside Ayla, slowly. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted to tell you the truth." She opened her notebook and read, "Sometimes we laugh at others because we are scared they're stronger than us. We point fingers because we don't want anyone to point at our own flaws. But yesterday I saw what strength really is." And it was standing on a stage, holding a painting, not a shield. Ria closed the notebook, her eyes wet. "I was wrong, Ayla. I'm really sorry." Ayla listened quietly. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. But she gave a small nod. Ria got up and walked away, leaving the notebook behind. Later that day, Ayla visited Mr. Reynard's classroom. He was packing some papers when she entered. She placed the notebook on his desk. He glanced at it. From Ria. Ayla nodded. She apologized. Mr. Reynard smiled, then sat down. "Not all apologies are real," he said. "But some are. Some come from truth, not guilt." "What should I do?" Ayla asked softly. "You don't have to forgive everyone," he replied, "but don't carry their weight forever. Let it fall behind you so you can move forward." That evening, Ayla went to the art room. Kian was already there, working on a clay sculpture, something rough, unfinished. He looked up. "You okay?" "I think so," Ayla replied. She sat beside him. "Do you ever think scars become lighter?" Kian nodded. "Not because they disappear, but because we stop hiding them." Ayla smiled. She took out a blank canvas and began to paint, not flames, not pain, just stars and calm skies. For the first time, she painted herself smiling. Not the old Ayla, not the broken one, just her Mr. Reynard's last day at the school arrived quietly. There was no announcement. Number big farewell, but students knew. Some left notes outside his classroom. Others wrote small thank yous on sticky paper and pressed them on his door. Ayla stood near the entrance, holding something wrapped in brown paper. When he stepped out with his cane and bag, she handed it to him. Her hands trembled a little. "It's for you," she said softly. He smiled and opened it slowly. Inside was a new painting, Lael, standing on a cliff at sunrise. Her scarf was blowing in the wind behind her. Her scars were there, visible. But her posture was strong, proud. At the bottom, she had written, "You didn't fix me. You reminded me I wasn't broken." Mr. Reynard blinked, holding back tears. He placed the painting gently into his bag, then gave her a small salute. "You were the bravest soldier I met, Ayla. Never stop showing up." In the weeks that followed, Ayla changed. not completely. Some days were still hard. But now she sat in the middle row in class, not in the corner. She shared her notes. She helped others during group work. Students began to treat her like a person, not a rumor. One afternoon, the principal asked Ayla to speak in front of the younger grades, just a short talk about art and healing. At first, she froze, but then she thought about Mr. Reynard's words. Sometimes your healing helps others heal too. She agreed. Standing on the small stage in front of wide-eyed kids, she began. I used to think scars made me weak, but I learned they're proof that I survived something strong. You don't have to hide what hurt you. Sometimes that's the most powerful part of your story. She showed the students her first painting, the one with fire and the reflection of hope. Some kids clapped. One even raised her hand and asked if she could start painting too. Ayla smiled. Of course you can. That night, as Ayla walked home, the sun set gently behind her. The breeze touched her face. For the first time in a long time, she didn't reach for her scarf. She walked with her chin up. Behind her were the voices of the past whispers, laughter, fear. But ahead of her was something else entirely, peace. And in the quiet of that moment, Ayla finally believed. She wasn't weak. She wasn't broken. She was the strongest among them.